well. All right, so it is 6:20, so we will get started, and then hopefully the rest of the environmentalists can join us. So, welcome everyone to our third LPC meeting. I just want to remind everyone that at the end of this meeting, there will be a 15-minute comment period for members of the public if anyone wants to speak. That also pertains to any project sponsors that are with us tonight to maybe answer any questions that you've heard come up from the LPC or provide any comments or anything in that regard. And then with that, Mayor or Andrew, would either of you like to just give a brief welcome?
No.
Welcome.
Oh,
That's our job.
Welcome, everybody. We appreciate you guys showing up, being here. You take this very, we really take it, we wanna make sure we do the right thing, and input, when we have the input is going to be really important, and, we'll move forward under your guidance, you guys. I'm looking forward to it.
okay, so with that, I do just want to acknowledge that we do have Brooke, a member of the LPC. She is virtual with us today, so Brooke will, she might pop up occasionally. Brooke, if you ever want to chime in, just go for it.
Okay,
all right.
thanks.
Perfect, there you go. All right, so the agenda for you is on the screens, also in your packet, for this evening. The welcome LPC code of conduct, we're gonna go through the near code timeline as usual. We're gonna give a brief overview of the key observations that came out of the downtown profile and assessment. We'll briefly talk about project evaluation again, and then we're gonna get right into that preliminary project list. We'll also be, during that time, talking about the projects, also be going through an evaluation exercise, and then we'll talk about the results afterwards. That's when the public comment will then come, and then we'll wrap it up with next steps and a big thank you to you all. So with that.
So, hi everyone, as a reminder, here is the LPC code of conduct. So with that, it is each local planning committee member is reminded of their obligation to disclose potential conflicts of interest with respect to projects that may be discussed at today's meeting. If you have a potential conflict of interest regarding a project you believe will be discussed during the meeting, please disclose it now and recuse yourself from any discussion or vote on that project. For example, you may state that you or a family member have a financial interest in the project, or you are on the board of the organization proposing the project. And so with that, do any of the LPC members need to make a disclosure to the committee?
I think I do, and I'm not sure it's, they are patients of mine. So I know them very well, so I don't know if that it's. Or, is that,
I'm defer Susan.
okay, so,
My initial thought is no, because you don't necessarily stand to benefit from the implementation of the project financially. So that's kind of my initial thought, but ultimately, like, I leave that up to you if you are concerned about any perception. That's your call.
okay,
But I don't, from my perspective, that does not raise the level of a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Andrew, you've also taken these REBC trainings for conflict of interest, so I'm curious of your thoughts.
their families in my practice, and so,
It seems like a couple steps removed,
okay,
from the financial benefit part of it.
Yeah.
okay.
So with that, so to date, we've received one recusal, for Steve Tilley, who wasn't able to attend tonight, but it's gonna be for the rehabilitate 143 Main Street project. And more information on that to come later in the meeting, that project, but also in the project materials you received, you may have seen that. And we also recognize that it is early in the process, and you might not necessarily know whether or not a recusal will be necessary for the project received through the call for projects. However, as previously mentioned, please indicate that you need to recuse yourself as soon as it becomes apparent. So with that, as you can see from this timeline, we're nearing the end of August. And so tonight is LPC meeting 3. We have our LPC meeting number 4 coming up in September, followed by the remaining LPC meetings in October. Additionally, we will have our second public workshop also in the beginning of October. And then, we've also since completed our downtown profile assessment, which has been shared with you all. And we are beginning to work on project development, so that begins tonight.
So as Lizzie mentioned, we've since completed the downtown profile and assessment. This document serves as the existing conditions analysis of the downtown, including a review of the downtown's relationship with the surrounding region, and then potential future recommendations for what come for the downtown in regards to vitalization. And this document ultimately will be included in the strategic investment. So as we were conducting our analysis for the downtown, for the downtown profound assessment, there were a few key themes that became apparent, which we compiled together to comprise these key observations that you see here. And if you also had a chance to read the downtown profile, you saw it there as well. These observations can serve as opportunities for the community to continue building upon revitalization in the downtown, or really can jumpstart the goals that we've identified for this process and the downtown. As you can see here, the key observations are a little lengthy, so we provided a brief overview of each of those takeaways. And so for the first key observation, it really is centered around improving mobility, enhancing visibility, and investing in a safer multimodal connection. So that really is focused on the pedestrian atmosphere of the downtown. Then key observation number 2 is to continue investment in the public realm. So that's really highlighting all the civic spaces and the open spaces that the downtown has to offer today, and really continuing to emphasize their importance and just continuing to put investments into those areas. And then lastly, our key observation number 3 is focused around the residential offerings within downtown and really expanding upon those. I feel like the Village Ready to date has already started to allow for a more residential development in the downtown. And through our findings, there definitely is a need for more residential uses at a mix of rates, so whether affordable or market rate. And so our recommendation here, our key observation really, is to expand upon those offerings. Any questions or comments on these observations, or if you had a chance to review the downtown profile assessment, any overall comments, anything in regards to that document? All right. So with that, we will keep on moving. Well, just a brief period. Any questions or comments so far? Nothing much has happened yet. Chrissy and Laura, welcome. Yes, go
I
ahead.
know the dates that you mentioned earlier, but you just bring up and mention the actual dates of our meetings. You know,
We're gonna get to that at the
Okay.
very end of this.
just want to make sure
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
we will, we'll spell those out at the end. All right. So next, we're gonna talk about project evaluation, and this is the same slide that you saw at LPC meeting 2, and you're gonna continue to see this slide throughout the rest of our meetings together. To really help keep track of project evaluation, but then also just project progression. And at last meeting, you all might recall that you determined the project evaluation criteria to be used when reviewing the projects received through the call for projects. And so now at today's meeting, what you can see is highlighted in blue, our meeting in August, LPC meeting number 3, the project team will present the projects received through the call for projects and will assist you all in determining the following: project eligibility, and then alignment with vision and goals. And in front of you, if you open up your folders, there is an evaluation criteria worksheet package that you will be using at upcoming meetings when reviewing the projects. And this also was shared with you in the package of materials for the project, so you might have seen this already. In that package, you'll find printed goals for the process, so the state, region, and local goals and vision, as well as the evaluation criteria that was determined at that last meeting. For the purposes of today's meeting, when we introduce the projects to you, rather than focusing on all of that criteria, because it is a lot, we're gonna break it down. We're gonna do some criteria in each meeting. And so for tonight, as I mentioned, project eligibility is what we're going to be looking at, as well as alignment with the state, regional, local goals, as well as that local vision. Something else to consider, if you go to your very last page in that packet, there are 3 bullets on that last page. And you'll see it says project is recommended for New York Forward funding. Project may be recommended for New York Forward, but questions remain. Or the project is not recommended for New York Forward funding, but should be listed as a supporting project. And so we're not going to ask for your thoughts pertaining to each project regarding these 3 bullets. But just keep this in mind as you're starting to think about these projects and thinking about the overall criteria and the slate of projects. So this is more just to start getting you in the thought process of how these projects should progress.
When you say support, a supporting project, what do you mean by that?
Great question. So at the end of this process, when we have our ballot that we're going to be voting on for the slate of projects to move to the state. There, we can provide supporting projects, and those are projects that are not actually being recommended for funding, so there's gonna be no funding requests associated with them. However, the LPC vetted those projects, and being that they already went through this rigorous process of review, we could put it on there, and in the event, and the state will see it as part of the list of the slate of projects to be voted on. And it kind of just puts those projects in front of the state, so say in the future, they plan to get a grant or something. The state will already see, they went through a rigorous review process, they're already vetted by the LPC, so it's gonna kind of give them a leg up. So it's saying, we don't necessarily think that you fit, or maybe you don't comply for whatever reason with the New York Forward funding, but we still think it's a strong project and we wanted to kind of support the rest of our projects. Does that make sense? Any, yes,
Is that like an alternative or list? So the projects that we put forward to the state. And what happens if 2 of them fall through the cracks for whatever reason? There's not funding from the side of the owner or the entrepreneur or whatever you call that person or people. Then is there a backup list?
so as we've been mentioning, and we're gonna talk about it again tonight, when we put together the slate of projects that are submitted to the state, we're looking for a total New York Forward request of $6 to $8 million. Whereas the actual grant is only $4.1 million,
Okay.
4 million, give or take, $1 million worth of that money to go towards the projects. And so the purpose of the $6 to $8 million is to answer your question, in the event that a project drops for some reason and say it was awarded, now the state can go back to the list of projects that might have not been awarded, and they could then take from there.
And the projects we put forward is a slate of projects that we recommend as a group.
Yes,
And are they voted on unanimously, or is it a unanimous vote, or is it majority rules?
Usually the goal is to get there by consensus.
Consensus, great.
and yes, and just to clarify too, we are voting on the entire slate, you're not checking off one project at a time, it's yes, I want this slate to go, or no, I do not want this slate to move forward.
Got it.
And that will happen at the very last meeting that we have. Any other questions in regards to tonight, or even what we're planning to do in our following meetings?
Actually, yeah, will this slate of projects be triaged by us, or would that be determined by the state once it gets there? It's like, oh, we had these 10 things, but we're gonna pick number 9 and number 2, or we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the priority.
So we, as part of the LPC, we don't prioritize or rank projects. We're looking at them like in a holistic manner, I would say. And so the entire slate is something that we're all comfortable with, and we feel that they are complementary to each other, or if they are standalone, that they will also be a strong project on their own. So we don't necessarily rank any projects.
So the $6 million total number of projects we put forward, the state's gonna then pick from them 4.2 or whatever the amount is, right?
Yes, yeah, so about the $4.5 million worth of project that they're going to use, it's a multi-state agency review. They have their own set of criteria that they're going to be using to evaluate the projects and determine which ultimately will get awarded.
But our goal is just to come up with that $6 to $8 million to present to the state, and that's what you're referring to as a slate of projects.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Can any of these projects amend it as we go along, or is this it now?
No, so this process is very iterative. We're gonna be talking with the project sponsors daily, if not mostly daily, I would say. And so the purpose is they submit their projects through the call for projects, and some projects you'll see are very much vetted. Some are maybe still project ideas that need to be fleshed out a little bit. And that is our initial goal, was for us to review it as a project team, just to get a good understanding. And we had sent out a list of questions and some information needs to the project sponsors as right after the projects came in, just to get a little more information, and we share that all with you. Now, it's for us to present the projects for you all, and then for you all to really review those projects, come up with, if you have any questions or comments, we're gonna then share that with the sponsors. So it's gonna be a very amendable process throughout this, throughout the next really meeting or so. By the time we get to the public workshop in beginning of October, we kind of want to have a good understanding of what these projects are going to be, because they're going to be going in front of the public at that point in time for the public's input. So we want to have strong concepts and ideas at that point in time. So between now and then, we're gonna be really having conversations with the sponsors, with you all, getting information back and forth. So there's a lot of planning to do, but you're gonna see some projects might not necessarily need any work, where others might still need some help. Any other questions? And just to continue, so with LPC meeting 4, and that's September 17th. We're gonna plan to talk through more about the projects, and if there is any information that we received since this meeting, we're gonna plan to present that to you all at that meeting. And then we're also gonna be using additional evaluation criteria to refine the project list if necessary at that point in time. Because we're gonna see today where we're at with the New York Forward request and where we have to maybe amend it, or is it good to go? We're gonna talk about that today. And then we have LPC meeting 5, and we put or 6, because we're not sure yet if we're going to need the 6th meeting, but at either one of, or really at either of those meetings, we're end up gonna vote on that slate of projects, or if we do need the 6th meeting, our 5th meeting will just be another working session to really refine and retune the list. All right,
Okay, so before we dive into the projects that we received through the open call for projects, we're going to briefly go through the eligible and ineligible project types under this process, as well as a few of the project requirements. You'll all see this slide before, but so we'll just do a brief overview. So the eligible project types under the New York Forward include public improvement projects, new development and or rehabilitation of existing downtown buildings, a small project grant fund, or branding and marketing. And then with that, the ineligible project types and activities include planning activities, operations and maintenance, pre-award costs, property acquisition, and training and other program expenses. So here is a reminder of what projects are required to include. These include project size and scale, which projects should have a total cost of a minimum total cost of $75,000. They should also demonstrate site control and have a clear financing plan. Projects should also provide the required matching as previously determined by the LPC at meeting number 2, which includes a minimum match of 25% for private sponsors and a 10% for nonprofit sponsors. And along with the other items on the list. And also projects should be catalytic, that word always stumps me, transformational, and also able to be implemented in the near term, along with creating synergies between the projects in the downtown, so. Okay, and then moving forward, as previously mentioned, you'll be asked tonight to evaluate the projects received through the call for projects in regards to their alignment with state, regional, and local goals and vision. I won't read through this list of goals because you've heard them before, and also you have them in your package, that was in your folder. But you can see here, based on the bold test, the basics of these goals and the importance of each and their relevance to this process. And then moving on, we have the regional goals. Again, I won't read through the list, but you can see on the bold text here, the basis of these goals and the importance of each as they pertain to the process.
and again, LPC, you have this in your packet.
Yeah, so it's gonna be on the first and second pages. The sequence package, yeah. Okay, perfect. And then now on to our Dobbs Ferry visioning goals. So here is the Dobbs Ferry New York Forward Vision Statement, which has been revised and finalized since our LPC meeting number 2 feedback. So it comprises of downtown Dobbs Ferry will be a welcoming and walkable destination, home to a diverse range of residential, commercial, and cultural offerings, vibrant community spaces, and an inviting pedestrian experience linking the Metro North Station to the downtown. By building on the downtown's core of attractive and renowned restaurants, redevelopment opportunities, high potential for walkability, and multimodal connections to the larger region, there's no limit to what Dobbs Ferry's downtown can and will become.
And then here are two of the four New York Forward goals that since have been revised and finalized based off of the LPC's feedback since LPC meeting number 2. And you'll see here beneath each of the goals are a set of revitalization strategies that the project team has drafted. And these strategies are discrete, measurable actions required to achieve each of the goals that you all put together. And they really help to answer the question of what steps must be taken to achieve that specific goal. And so for diversified downtown commercial offerings, the revitalization strategies that we've since come up with foster an inclusive and adaptable downtown business environment that attracts and sustains a diverse mix of commercial activities and encourages private investment. And then support the creative use, transformation, and revitalization of existing spaces and storefronts to meet evolving market conditions, community needs, and long-term economic goals. Any questions or comments on those? Okay. Then next is enhance the pedestrian experience, and the strategies for that goal are promote pedestrian infrastructure and streetscape design improvements in downtown Dobbs Ferry that contributes to a safe, accessible, and walkable environment. And improve connectivity and create a cohesive pedestrian network between key downtown destinations via enhanced streetscaping and wayfinding signage. And these might also kind of start to pick up those key themes. These goals are also kind of following those key observations that we had put together for the downtown profile assessment. Then for our third goal that we have, enliven downtown through creative placemaking. Support the enhancement of Dobbs Ferry's public spaces through physical improvements to support increased usage and social interaction while contributing to the character of downtown. Leverage untapped opportunities for cultural programming, public art, and design interventions that create a lively, attractive, and welcoming downtown environment. And then lastly, increase housing opportunities. Encourage the development of a wide range of housing types at diverse affordability levels to create a thriving downtown that provides housing options for residents at all stages of life. And promote and facilitate redevelopment and investment in downtown to expand residential opportunities. Any thoughts or comments about any of those strategies?
Sounds like a fun place to live.
That's fun.
That's the goal.
All right, so with that, we will continue. Any questions, comments, concerns up to this point? All right, we're gonna get into the projects now. So as mentioned before, when we introduce the projects to you, we're gonna want you to consider two things: project eligibility and then the alignment with the goals and the vision at the local level. After each project slide, there will be a Mentimeter poll for you to complete in regards to each of those the criteria. Okay. We're doing that tonight. After we go through all of the projects, we'll then discuss the results. So we're gonna go through it all and then we're gonna discuss the results and then we're gonna talk about the current slate of projects. So at this point, LPC, feel free to take out your phones or
Need to give this before.
hand it in. Yes, if you have a code of conduct in front of you on your folder, please fill it out and hand it in to Susan by the end of the evening. So feel free to take out your phone or whatever electronic device that you have and scan the QR code. It was provided on your agenda or on the screen. And for members of the public, this exercise is just for the LPC. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide feedback in real time on these projects at a public workshop in October. Okay. And then everyone in?
So,
Yeah.
like that.
Working.
And again,
You're on my phone, I haven't done on this.
oh, there you go. We're all in, we're good. It's- Oh, no problem.
No, we might change our minds as we discuss these projects, but that's.
Of course, that's okay. That's totally okay. And then
We're not voting yet, right?
no, don't, yeah, don't start yet. Don't start yet.
Okay.
You have to go to the top project first. Alright, we'll give it another minute or two.
So is there gonna be discussion about each one?
Yeah.
With each other?
Yes.
Cause I'm not really relying on people that have been here for 25 years this July.
Don't do that.
Oh.
Don't do that.
What an anniversary.
You want your.
Well, yes, we want we want your input as well, and that's why you were chosen on this board, because you have a different mindset and a different connection to the downtown. So we will, the plan is that we will present the project, you will then, we'll present the project, we could talk about it. Lizzie is gonna take down all of the notes and comments that you have. We will then go back to the project sponsors with those comments and those questions, so that we can start getting responses from them and go from there. We then will go to the Mentimeter slide, so that's when you'll take out your phone, you will then respond accordingly, and then we're gonna go to the next project and so forth. After we do that, we will then talk through the results of the Mentimeter, and then that's when we could talk about the current slate of projects in like that the holistically format. Think about it all at once.
So we did project by project, we meant to need or?
Yes, project by project.
Okay.
How many projects are there?
14 now.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
I did my homework.
So, yes, to answer your question, 14 projects were submitted. I promise you, we have an hour and a half and we're gonna knock it out. We're gonna leave right on time.
Confident, you know you can do it.
I'll try my best. So 14 projects were submitted through the call for projects. There was one nonprofit, 8 public projects, and of those 8 public projects, we do just want to let you know up front that 6 were submitted from the village themselves. 1 was submitted from the Dobbs Ferry Library, and the other was submitted from members of the Sustainable Dobbs Ferry Group. And then there were 5 private projects. Of the 14 projects submitted, 1 is ineligible. And we want to just make a note now that the project has been preliminarily deemed ineligible by us, the consultant team, for the basis of the fact that it's located outside the Muir Road boundary. And so as you may recall, on the call for projects form, it indicated that projects that are located outside the boundary are still allowed to submit. However, it is to the LPC to determine whether or not they could become an eligible project and a part of the actual slate of projects. So that is the current basis for why it's ineligible. So here you could see this is a map showing all of the projects received and their respective locations, including 3 area-wide projects. And then you can also see the project that is located outside the boundary to the top left-hand of the screen. So you can see kind of how they are located near each other and just a general understanding of where they are in the downtown. Okay, so we're first gonna talk about that ineligible project, again, based off of our understanding. So this project is the Moore Dance Studio. The project is to renovate an existing 6,000 square foot facility to house a performing arts center to accommodate multidisciplinary performance and community arts, including performance, rehearsal, education, and community gatherings. The sponsor type is nonprofit. The sponsor name is, there's a slight error on this. Sponsoring name is Moore Ballet Inc. They are not the property owner. The property owner, they are located at 145 Palisade Street, and they are looking to lease this location, lease the 6,000 square foot facility in that building. So we will update the slide, but just so you're aware, their total near forward funding request is $1.5 million, and their total project cost is $1,940,000. And you can see on the left-hand side, there is a snapshot of the location that orange star denotes the location of the project. And you can kind of see the hatching beneath to show that it's outside the boundary.
And do you think that's by accident or they knew where the boundary was, right?
They understood where the boundary was and, yes, they understood that.
Okay.
I've heard, now, they're leasing it. But do they have the lease, I mean, can we, I know. We're supposed to get to have that control of the property, if somebody doesn't have the lease yet for. What they want to renovate, are we allowed to give them money?
So that is something that so if they do not own the property, and this stands for any project, we would look to get a letter or some type of, something in writing from the property owner indicating that they are okay with this, and that has happened and that has been received for this site. So the property owner is, understanding of what they're looking to do and is in support of it.
So we look for like having site control or a path to site control.
Well, that's,
Yeah,
that's.
So, understanding where this location, where the project is located outside the boundary, the question is for you all to, basically the question is, do we want this project to advance as part of the slate of projects, understanding it is outside the boundary? Or being that it's outside the boundary, do we deem it ineligible and maybe it should just move as a supporting project or it falls off the list completely?
That's tough for me, because it's a fabulous project, but it's outside boundaries, also the amount of money that we're putting up, even is. What they're asking for is considerable, even, you know, I mean. If they don't have more money for this. If they can't get more money. To add to what they're putting in, I think.
Does that have to change your opinion if they put more money in as opposed to being?
If I knew that, because it's a lot of money, yes, can they get it, can they, you know, that kind of thing. Outside the boundary, I'm not thrilled with that idea, but. It's the kind of, well, okay, I am partial to entertainment stuff, having been in the industry for so many years, but, It would bring so much in, and the community space and the stuff that they're looking for. I consider living in, but I wouldn't, you know, I'm not gonna. You know, the people don't think, I mean, I'm not gonna fight for it, I just think that it's really a very interesting project and it would bring a lot of people. It would bring it to 145 Palisades, will it bring us into downtown? Maybe the restaurants, I don't know.
Do you have an existing operations?
Yes, in Yonkers, so they're looking to move into Upper Westchester.
What would be the duration of this lease?
Oh, good question.
Because if it's
20
1.5.
years.
Oh,
20 years. Okay.
Just, that's nothing, 20 years.
Is there a plan to close the place in Yonkers, to move up here, or to keep them both open?
I believe keep them both.
Sorry, now they-
No, we're closing Yonkers and moving into.
I mean, I think it aligns with the goals that we set out, so, and I think just on the boundary issue, it's. Very close to the boundary, so I would say, I mean, I know we're not deciding if this is gonna be on the slate, but just as far as keeping it in for now, I think. We could keep it in for now and then see what the other projects are, because it is just outside the boundary.
So when we were drawing the boundary like a million years ago, the first boundary, and full disclosure that my business is in that building and we're not in the boundary. And there's just that project of that building can go in a million different ways, and there's also property behind it that's on the waterfront that at some point the property owner wants to develop. So there's just a lot of different things that can happen on that property. And it seemed like by including it in the boundary, it could have gone, like the whole process could have gone in this, you know, weird way.
Yeah.
If we didn't just try and really focus on Cedar, Maine and Metro North. And then we didn't, you know, like LPC didn't choose to add it either at any point. But it is arguably part of the downtown and it could be, and this is a project that could make it even more so. But there's probably more work that could be done that whole area to
also connected more to the downtown, so it is part of the downtown. It could be like way more part of the downtown in such a way that it would have like possibly derailed the whole grant project.
Could it be an ethical or legal issue? Because, as Christie was saying, there are other companies down there that might, well, if we had known, we would have submitted, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's something to.
concerned. That's what I was thinking.
definitely-
That's what I was gonna say, that I love the ideas of coming from a family of theater people and dance people, and I love that location for 6,000 square foot, the Performing Arts Center, I think it's a fabulous idea. I worry about other people that looked at the guidelines and chose not to submit anything because that's where they wanted it or could have it. And they didn't, I just think about equity, with other people, so that's my only worries. And we chose not to put it in the boundary that.
As historical reference point, has that happened in the past where something outside the boundaries have been chosen and there's been challenges as a result of that?
Meaning it came in outside the boundary and then the boundary was amended, or they let the project just continue even though it's outside the boundary?
No, were there other companies,
other projects
organizations,
came in.
projects that were upset and decided to either sue or like what,
Oh.
is there any reference point on consequences for something like this?
I'm not aware of any. I also haven't worked on any projects where an LPC has chosen to extend the boundary.
Yeah. It's, I guess that was the complimentary question is.
Do we know if anybody approached you and just turned away because they heard about the boundary?
No, there was no one else that had reached out. There was one or two people that reached out, after the culvert project's closed. Saying that they missed it and they wanted to submit, unfortunately it was closed at that point. It was also more so a project idea, not a fully formed project, but no one otherwise had reached out because of the tree. It's all.
What's our award? It's 4.2, 4.9, 4.5, 145 Palisades is emerging. I think that maybe something for the future, though, we're not there yet, because that project is awesome, would be great. But then we're gonna have to add streetscaping to 145, like there's a new, yeah, it's gonna be more than that, and I think that might be. I think if we can get another grant in the future.
It's like,
That-
wow, that's.
Yeah, that would be, because 145 is.
I mean, no one really
That's a
had,
great.
there wasn't like opera that I knew of in
Yeah.
the building that was tried,
Yeah.
and, but. And everything else is, they're all kind of huge, like they were,
Yeah.
development of that area.
That whole area.
Big project,
It's a village in itself,
yes,
so great.
but having
We're not there.
this kick it off, or like there be part of what. And
I know we can't decide tonight, but if we were to accept them to be part of this. Part of the project. Probably knowing full well that we're not gonna fund them. They would then fall into the supporting projects, then it would go to the state also. Which might help them to find a grant somewhere else. Is that correct?
So yes, if you all do want to accept them and have them continue on in the process, something else that we can also do as part of the strategic investment plan, there is this last section called the roadmap for revitalization. And it's basically to help the village understand what can they do next after this grant program concludes. Because there have been a lot of communities where they go through this program and then it just dies and they don't actually do anything to build upon it. And so in that roadmap, we can identify maybe as this project in the roadmap as it kind of contributes to the goals for implementing and expanding civic spaces and things of that nature. So there's other opportunities for it to get in front of the state while not necessarily being a part of the preliminary slate or the slate of projects.
I mean, I love the project, I think it's fantastic, but it is outside boundary, and I think we deliberated about the boundary, we discussed it. I think, this is almost unfair just to allow one person to take the project. It's a great project, I love it, but I think because it's outside the boundary, I would say it's an eligible, must be my. But
Can we keep it for a future roadmap?
We can put it in the roadmap, yes.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, and so the census on this inventory that it is ineligible, we're not gonna just drop it completely, we're gonna add into that roadmap for later on in the strategic investment.
I would also argue to keep it not in, keep it eligible? Is there a future
Support?
point in time where we can still determine that after we've talked about all the other projects? Cause if the strength of the project is such that it's more, like the actual project is stronger and like more promising than
Yeah.
the ones that are in the boundary, wouldn't you wanna have that potential to consider it?
Yeah, I think.
That fall under supporting?
Yeah, I think the supporting issue is important, yeah, I agree with that, when we have to keep it along to use as a supporting project. I mean, we can't, if we said it's ineligible now, we can't even go forward and say we wanted it to be a supporting project.
Right. So we could table it to the end of the conversations tonight, but tonight we will make a decision.
It's not of a bunch of projects.
Yeah, so we could,
Yeah.
that we also don't have to do that tonight either. We don't have to knock out any projects yet. But let's go through all of the projects. You can see what was received and then we could have this so we'll bring this back to the table. Okay,
Because in the end, you have to come up with $6 to $8 million.
right.
Right, so we might say, well, we only like 30, and then that will put this one back in.
Just shake my hand. All right, so let's continue. So these are now the projects, the remaining 13 projects. So the first that we have here, and again, you're gonna see, this is the general layout for all the projects moving forward. You'll see the little star, which I apologize if it does look small on the screen, that's showing the location of the project. So the first project here is revitalize and expand the Cedar Street Plaza. So reimagine the existing concrete plaza located at the intersection of Main and Broadway into a Main and Cedar Street. This is not good, I apologize. Main and Cedar Street, wow. Into a public space that is modern, accessible, and welcoming for all users of all ages and abilities by providing a larger gathering space for community events with increased performance and seating. So the project sponsor is the village, so it's a public project. Again, the location includes, so if you think about it today, it's the existing poured concrete and brick paver plaza located on the northeast side of the intersection of Cedar Street and Main Street. And the New York Forward funding request is $203,444, and the total project request is $406,000. Yeah, give or take, $406,000. And something to note is that the village is providing a match of about half the project cost for this project. Any questions, comments, thoughts that you can think of right off the gate? I know, again, we're just introducing this all to you for the very first time. And so you can see here, the general footprint, give or take, of the existing plaza is the brick pavers that you could kind of see, like the red hatching. And then the expansion of it on the decking would be then that darker brown. So it's kind of into the tree area adjacent to the the old aqueduct trail. Again, allowing for more seating and then also just expanding the performance space area. Any comments, questions, thoughts, or if not, we'll go through the Mentimeter. All right,
I just think, I think it's a good idea, that's where we do a Christmas tree lighting, you guys have more space for people so they don't get in the middle of the street all the time.
all right, so let's go to the Mentimeter. So you should have it on your phone. And the idea is that there are, so you're responding for state, regional, and local goals, and then the vision, and you just drag the little circle, and it's out of 1, 2, or 3. 1, strongly disagree, 3, strongly agree.
But I don't, I don't, oh, I see,
Yeah, you drag the dot, yep, drag the dot along the line.
Oh, this is a trick.
There you go.
Yeah, we have, that's a dot. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Specifically. All right, looks like we're waiting, wow, waiting for one more person.
Or no, just hit submit.
Yes, otherwise, perfect.
Okay.
Just a reminder that this is just for the LPC to do and that we will have an opportunity for the public to weigh in on the project. So just LPC members for tonight, please. Okay, so let's move on.
We're not gonna get the results till the end, you said.
Till the end. Gotta keep waiting. Gotta keep waiting. Gotta be engaged.
That's not just fair.
We have an hour 10 to go, and I want you to be on your toes. Alright, so this next project is Lower Main and Cedar Streetscaping. Create a cohesive pedestrian environment in the downtown by extending the recently completed streetscape treatment from that upper portion of Main Street, and that was between Cedar and Chestnut Streets, to both the lower portion of Main, south to Walnut, and then Cedar Street between Main Street and Broadway. And you could kind of see that, I apologize if you can't see it from here because it is a little small, that blue highlighting on the map, that is the locations of both of those projects. The improvements include the installation of street trees with grates, benches, lampposts, and improved sidewalks, as well as repaving and restriping the roadways in both of those areas. Again, the sponsor for this project is the village, so it's a public project. The location is the right of ways along the streets. Lower Main is between Chestnut Street to the north and Walnut to the south. And then the second part is Cedar Street between Main Street to the west and Broadway to the east, give or take. The New York Forward funding request is approximately $1.6 million. And the total project request is approximately $3.8 million. The village is going to apply for the village is looking to apply for a Westchester County grant for approximately half of the project cost. And that also includes a match from the village, or I'm sorry, I should say that the village is looking to apply for the grant, as well as match the project too from the village funding. And the match from the village will go towards the milling and the paved work of the streets.
Have a question?
Mhm.
Maybe have we checked the pole base
Sure.
under the
We have
sidewalk?
spoken about.
Yes, included.
Yeah.
Part of the village grant lesson that has been incorporated into the budget. for
What
this
she's
project.
talking about is when we did Upper Main Street, we realized that there were coal bins, COAL bins from the old days where people would store coal in their basements. And there were chutes and rooms and it became a much more expensive project than we initially thought. When we realized that those had to be taken care of because they just weren't structurally sound enough to support the new stuff. So that was one of the considerations for the Lower Main as well. Will there be there? How much would that cost? How much would that add to the project? So that was discussed.
Yes.
Don't get mad at me for this question.
You're sitting next to me.
I know that. The question is, so, wasn't one of you're not supposed to do maintenance? I didn't know you were supposed to do any maintenance using this grant. And what jumps out at me is the paving of the street and the restriping, whether or not that will be rejected by the state based on their criteria.
Good point.
Dr. Susan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's partly why it's the village match, of their funds is the 521 to do that milling paving, so it's not necessarily using any of the grant award to do that, the grant award would be primarily going to. The streetscaping, and the sidewalk improvements, but I think the idea was like, these are things that would combine, both enhance the streetscape and make it more appealing, so they were kind of put together.
Okay, because I wasn't sure you could parse it out like that, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
and so to that point exact, in the following meetings, we're gonna be providing the budget tables for each of these projects. And as part of the budget tables, we put the line items as to the funding sources. And so, I mean, it's not down to like the screws and the nails, it's just gonna be like construction, design, and then there's gonna be the funding source allocated to that, and it can be private equity, the New York Forward Funding Grant, a loan, things like that, and so you're gonna start to see where they're kind of being allocated.
so you don't think that it would get to the state level and be rejected then?
I don't think so, I think that these are components of projects that are commonly put forth together.
Okay.
I was wondering if this project would be scalable, like you mentioned that they were applying for a grant from the county, but if that doesn't come through, is it something that? You know, the scope of the project could be reduced. If, like, the project could still move forward if that grant wasn't realized.
I think the village has understood that in the event that they don't receive the grant, that they will be responsible for those funds otherwise. So the village is aware of that. In regards to the scaling of the project, we have looked at it to understand if there's elements or like the components that are being considered for the project, and they all to some degree, have some construction component to it. That means like ripping up the sidewalks. So they kind of all have to be done in one phase, just so then you're not having to pave and having to put the sidewalks or whatever. So they did consider some of that, but that is a question that we can also bring back to them and see if there is any consideration for it.
So the money stuff can all be handled later on, this is just to realize the
Yes.
project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alignment with vision and goals, Donna, and that's what we're gonna get to now. So if you all wanna go back to the fence meter. Unless if anyone had any other questions or comments.
Just one more, I did read in the thing, you can't match, and none of the match money can come from another state grant, correct?
That is not true of New York Forward.
Really?
Um,
I thought I read that somewhere.
That is most other state grants, that's the case, but New York Forward, we often use other state funds.
Yeah.
But it can't be an old grant that already.
Right, it can't be previously
Yeah.
received.
Okay, okay.
Andrew?
I'm just curious, as the village,
But, oh, this is strongly disagree, where's that, guess who? Oh, really strongly, got it, I see now, okay.
Just because it's red, it seems scary. That one.
has the village prioritized of the 6 projects which they wanna do? By chance?
So am I,
Go ahead.
so stop me if I'm closely aligned or something. So the village did have a public meeting about these projects. And we intended to prioritize each one, but at the end of the day, we really felt. I think I'm advocating for this, and I'm not so sure I should be advocating for them, but
I think you're reporting on what the.
Yeah.
This
So-
is part about public
at the end
support.
of the day, we felt that. All the projects were important and that we decided we increased matches on all the projects. So that we could put it forth, so that you guys could decide based upon the money, what our input would be. What you guys thought about it, so at the end of the day, we put them all the projects that we thought were important, we put them all forth, we did not rank them. Okay, so we're voting, is that what we're doing?
Yes, please vote if you haven't done so already. Again, just LPC members, please. And again, if you have any questions too, as we're going through the voting, feel free to raise them or jotting them down, and we'll be going back to the project sponsors with all your questions and your comments. Looks like we're waiting just for a few more folks, and then we will move on to the next project. Alright. So the next project is install public art throughout the downtown. Install a variety of murals and a sculpture throughout the downtown to help enhance the sense of place, highlight history and culture, and transform streets and buildings into pieces of art. There are plans for 5 murals, 1 sculpture, and a painted design on the crosswalks of the Old Croton Aqueduct Trail and that bisect the downtown. This is a village project again, so it is a public project. The locations again are either on private or public properties throughout the New York Forward area. The New York Forward funding request is the New York Forward funding request and the project costs are the same, $148,000, give or take.
That's what they're required to have,
The
10% or whatever, yeah.
The village, the public projects are not required for a match.
Okay.
Private match of 25% and
Right.
nonprofit 10%.
10%, right, okay.
Yes, so no match required.
Okay.
Any questions or thoughts on that?
Who's in charge of the artwork? Or who would oversee,
Question.
who would oversee the artwork?
It'll be a village project, so the village would oversee it.
So be the local artists?
Well, not necessarily, it could be local artists, or we could partner with a community group that does murals throughout Westchester or the city, so we could partner with them.
I will
Will
just
it be rotating?
No.
I mean, it will be like, you'll have permanent stuff, or will be rotating stuff?
Permanent.
Permanent.
I will just note, and typically, if this project is awarded, the state does require competitive procurement and having an open call for artists and that kind of competitive process.
I promise you it would not be a mural drawn up by the mayor or.
But this is also building on, work that has been done for the county grant that we were awarded. And so we've already engaged with the design firm who's doing like identity and branding for the downtown, which is what you see in the upper left. Like, this is their first sketch of what could be at the Rochambeau wall. So like, they've already started the work of some of the locations and how they could be used as like signage and placemaking in addition to just art. So this would be a mix of the two, of things that are also like, you know, utilitarian, like the things that cross the aqueduct. But then also.
Alright, any thoughts on this project otherwise? Okay, so let's go to the event. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Bear with me a second. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that did not mess it up. Nope, okay. Alright, so if you can all respond, 6 people are ready. Nope. All right. All right, so we're gonna go to the next project. And this project is to install a unified signage system within the downtown. Install a unified signage system with a consistent brand for the downtown featuring gateway, directional, and informational signs to direct visitors and residents to commercial corridors within the downtown, the Metro North Station, recreational assets, cultural and historic landmarks, parking areas, and other key destinations within the downtown. This is a village project. The proposed locations of the signs are to be strategically placed in locations within public right of ways and on publicly owned properties throughout the downtown and the New York Forward area. The New York Forward funding request is $349,750, whereas the total project cost is $461,670. The village will be putting approximately $112,000 towards this project as a match, and that's gonna go towards the installation of the signs to be done by the DPW. Any thoughts or questions, comments on this project? Okay, all right, so then let's continue. So here is the Mentimeter for this project. So moving along, so next is the Lower Memorial Park redesign project. So this project is to transform the underutilized portions of Lower Memorial Park into a vibrant pedestrian connector between the Metro North Station and the downtown area, while offering active recreational spaces with updated and new amenities. So if you just think about this space, it is where there's the collapsed former VFW hall. And so it's replacing that area in the lower part of the park. Improvements include the installation of a covered bicycle parking area and an informational board and or kiosk to encourage multimodal transportation near the train station, as well as the installation of 2 pickleball courts, a bathroom facility, park benches and tables, ADA accessible paths, as well as new landscaping. And the basketball court and the concession stand that are there today are to remain. This is also a village project. It is at Memorial Park, 105 Palisade Street. The New York Forward funding request is $1,041,356, and the total project cost is exactly $2,041,356. The village has submitted a grant through the CFA with the ask of $675,000. The village will also provide a match of $325,000. And you can see on the lower left-hand side of the screen, that's a conceptual plan currently for that project.
So what happens if the other grant doesn't come through and we push this grant through, so it's really half funded?
the village will be responsible for those funds.
Did you say the CFA?
Yes,
Doesn't the CFA have a 20 to 40% match requirement?
It
I'm pretty
would.
sure it does.
Based on the program that they apply to.
I know this because I've gone through this before. But I just bring that up because there's also a match requirement for the CFA, so just want to raise that case. Village wasn't aware.
Just to speak on that, like whether it's built in or not, it's during deliberations, it's definitely factored in. The level of contribution from the applicant, so. Whether it's official or ad hoc, it is a factor.
yes. Any other thoughts or comments on this project? Okay. And Laura will look into it. We'll look into that, yes. All right, so we'll do the next meter for this project and then we will continue.
That's a good question. What's the total number of dollars of all 14 projects?
I'm gonna show you that in about 6 projects. We're gonna talk through that after we talk through the results of the evaluation. So the next project is to activate High Street Park. So transform an underutilized parcel of land adjacent to the Metro North Station by installing a new staircase and a viewing platform of the Hudson River. Removing overgrown invasive plants and establishing a native grass meadow. This is a public project put in through the state, through the village. It is located at 2 Station Plaza, so if you think about it, it is that triangle parcel, and you can kind of see that on the map. Between Walnut, High Street and Station Plaza, the goats were there previously, trying to eat all the weeds and everything, so that's the parcel that we're talking about. The New York Forward funding request is $1,097,749. And the total project cost is approximately $2.2 million. The village is proposing to put a match of half of the project cost. And that's this.
I'd like to mention something on this project, it does something that's very important for me as far as mobility, and it wasn't in their grant. The pedestrian staircase links, now if anybody's tried to walk from the train station to Cedar Street, that's quite a walk for some people. That staircase happens to link Metro North Station, there are 5 B-line bus lines that stop on Livingston and High Street. So it adds to the transportation and allows for people who are unable to make that walking trek to get to the downtown.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So can we put it in even though they didn't do it?
We can fix that up.
And it's also the first thing people to see some things, right now it looks like.
Right.
A very well country.
I like the idea that it's first thing you see, but how is that stairway gonna make it more accessible for some people that can't make it to downtown? You know what I mean? Because
Well, this,
the stairway is pretty steep.
I don't know if they were steep or if they're gonna be like the ones that are in Blue Park that are nicely raped.
I think it'll, when I say it won't be a ramp type thing, it will be I think like a tier type of staircase.
Yes.
So I think I really similar to what is there today.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
We'll go.
It won't be as steep as it is now.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
And there is a place for people to stop and sit.
Yes.
But I'm just saying it does provide.
No, there's a-
No, it's not.
Yeah.
This Black Hawk is the beauty, but I'm just saying that. If you can't, once you get up that hill, you know, it's still working, I just think it connects to the buses, I'm just saying, I know it's not the easiest thing.
Yeah, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but if it's a park. It's not necessarily gonna be, would it be ADA compliant?
It's not ADA.
No.
So we just know that,
Yes.
okay. Can we rename it Goat Park, just another?
We bring that back.
The stipulation, I'll bring that back, yeah, I just never remember this goes.
Yes.
We tried.
I know, we did.
They're very expensive.
Oh, no, don't bring it back.
No, ridiculous.
So
Oh,
let's
it's pretty-
go on it. things that we meant to do.
You're out.
My own little mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to now move on from the village public projects, but this is another considered public project. And this is community gardens. So the project here is to install a network of community gardens throughout the downtown at locations including portions of the old Croton Aqueduct, Memorial Park, and High Street Park, as well as the Historical Society property. Community gardens are to include raised garden beds, rainwater collection containers, irrigation systems, tool sheds, greenhouses, and seating. Again, this is a public project. It was put forward by the Dobbs Ferry Sustainability Task Force, which I believe is a part of Sustainable Dobbs. They don't currently have property ownership, as they are looking to utilize village-owned property, state-owned property, or even the Historical Society property. And we currently do not have any letters indicating that any of those property owners are for the project, or would allow them to put their community gardens there. Their New York Court funding request is $105,000, same thing with their project cost, and I apologize, there is a mistake and it's killing me. And something to indicate too is that in their project form, the project sponsor did indicate that they were requesting the funding for this project to be covered by the village. And that they, yes, and then they were proposing for, yes, to be covered by the village. We have not received any indication from the from the project sponsor yet, if they have received any inklings from the village, whether or not the village is for it. So just something to consider.
We're not, no, I think it's a lovely project, but one of my concerns is that. Sustainable Dogs is great, they usually do what they say, but it's like 5 years from now, if their volunteer base isn't there. This is gonna fall for a DPW. Maintain.
Okay.
And that could be problematic.
So of those locations that they put there, did they actually point to a place in any place? They just put those general places down?
Yeah, that's all that we're aware of.
Okay.
So. I'm the trustee liaison to Sustainable Dogs and they. Like, this is a good idea and a good project, and we were doing all of the village projects that you already saw in terms of putting them together. And so this is just, like, if everybody here is really interested in it, there's just more work to be done, I think, to get it to that level that the other ones are all at. But I don't think anyone is against the idea, it's just, it wasn't as flushed out as the rest at this point in time.
But it meets all the criteria. Right. Right, and that's what we're voting on. Yeah.
And this would just be pending
Yeah, to get all of this
permission for.
Yeah.
Right, so it's pending site control and also funding.
Yeah.
And the other possible thing is that the actual sponsor that came forward are members of the Sustainable Jobs Group, which is a branch of the village, and they are not an actual contracted entity. So they would also have to coordinate either or become a contracting entity that the village, that the state could contract with, or have the village do that.
Yeah, it would have to end up.
It will be
Through the
really-
VARs.
It will be a really.
Right. So we're still waiting to hear back from the project sponsor to understand if they have had conversations with the village in regards to all the above that we just talked about, and the same thing too with the property ownership as for the state as well as the historical society. So there are some things that are outstanding.
Can we put her on hold then or not?
We just move it along.
This can move along, this can move along, understanding that's a kind of idea at this point, and there's more information that is needed.
But if everybody, if the LPC wants them to get that information like now.
Yes.
Cause when they reached out to me to get that information and I said. We should still try and get that information, whether or not this is in New York Forward, because we're gonna need it, even if we try to get a different grant at some other point to do this type of project, so we would still need to. Figure out all of this details, so it's whether they should like rush and do it right now so that it's considered. Or give them the feedback that we think this is a good project, please still get those, but not for New York Forward.
Yes, I mean, that is something for the LPC to determine how we want to approach them. We have previously reached out to them asking whether or not the village indicated they would be willing to cover it in regards to financing. So that's one big thing that they were waiting to hear back on. Otherwise, following this meeting and learning the questions and comments that you might all have, we plan on scheduling calls. As of now, we've just been emailing with sponsors. We plan on scheduling calls with all of the projects that proceed after tonight to really flesh out and like hear the project from the sponsor's mouth per se, rather than their application. And that's when we're gonna ask all the questions that you might have from tonight. So that will be an opportunity for us to, if you decide to want that information from this project sponsors, we can do that. So should we, for this project specifically, do we want to go forward asking them to kind of fill in the blanks? So that for next meeting, you'll have a better understanding of if and how this project can move forward.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay, so we will do that. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right, so we're gonna go to the mental meeting. No.
You don't
It was a short break.
That's fine, okay, all right.
It's just so much really count for anything.
Okay, so now we're gonna move into a private project, and this is restore the Pickwick Theater. Restore the existing historic Pickwick Theater into an event space that will again serve as a cultural and social anchor within the downtown. Once operational, the theater will serve as a multifunctional event and performance space, accommodating movie screenings, lectures, indoor markets, performances, and community gatherings. So this is a private project. The sponsor and property owner, Ann, Paul, and Peter. Thank you, everyone. The location is 39 Cedar Street. The New York Forward funding request is $500,000 and their total project cost is $750,000.
Is that? I mean, this is like the linchpin to the whole downtown.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I mean, is that, you know?
They did provide cost estimates as well as like their budget, and we have looked at it, but that's something too that we can definitely raise, because we had a similar.
Yeah, because I guess, you know.
Yes, that's really fair.
You know, lights, so good.
Even if we're not confident in amounts, we can still move it along to get.
Yes, I definitely just understand the fact that the project scopes might change, and then that means the actual New York Forward request and the project cost might change too. Not drastically, I would assume in the upper category, I would assume that maybe sometimes it'll drop, and also if the LPC does request that, but I would just expect that some of these numbers are going to change over the course of the project. Does anyone else have, I think, other questions or comments?
I mean, just what other people are saying, it stood out to be very low.
Very
but,
low.
you know,
We'll definitely bring that to the sponsor.
And then everybody would.
Everybody knows how I
Right,
make money.
Right, it was like
Yeah.
20,000, it wasn't like 15,700.
Yes, they were all rounded. Yeah.
It seemed very, the numbers were really vague and low.
We'll definitely, yeah, so we can definitely follow up on that.
But I know you mentioned that as we move along to this process, is the next meeting we talk about like more finalized budget numbers? That has more of a, you know, detailed backup to how they got to these numbers?
So that ideally was requested during the New York, through the call for projects, and we did request the cost estimates to try back some of it. But yes, during this time period between now and that meeting in September, we're gonna hope to get to a more finalized, if we can, budget that has true backing to it.
Because then, you know, if this jumps and, you know, it would affect the rest of the project that we already
Right.
told over.
Right, yes, and there is always the opportunity too for the LPC, so if you're looking, let's say this number is $2.5 million. And you're like, it actually might be a little too high, can we see if it's feasible for them to reduce, if it still put their scope forward? That's something that the LPC can also recommend for projects too.
Like a partial award, like to give them less than what they're asking for?
It would be more so, we would just amend the actual New York forward funding request, just so then it's straightforward for the sponsor and for the LPC.
Could we give them more?
If you want to, Donna.
They would need to request.
Yes. Yes. Any, Daniel?
I was just saying, if they're asking for 500,000, we say 500,000, turns out it's 2.5 million.
Yeah, right.
Well, they gotta come up with the two.
Yeah, then they have to come up with it.
Well, right,
Within the 2 years.
Right.
Or-
they have to come up with it, it's both, it's a reimbursable program.
Okay.
All sponsors have been, made aware of that multiple times, so they would be responsible for it.
Does the theater have to be operational before you pay them up?
So they have, no,
Or just
not operational
construction?
construction.
You have to provide the backup with receipts of what you paid, right?
Once I just read the thing, once operational, the theater. Sure.
So this is a private project, Eric, I don't know if you wanna speak to that, I mean, we typically say like the scope of the project is completed. So whether or not it is,
completely along with the CBO.
so whether or not it is open and having performances, I don't think that our grant covers that.
Right.
Any other thoughts?
Sorry, isn't reimbursement on a like more regular basis?
Not for private projects.
Oh, okay.
Private projects is generally at the end after the certificate.
Okay,
Nonprofit and public, yes.
okay.
All right, so let's go to the next. Oh, wow, Tanya, you already did it, look at this, moving fast. All right, we get time for the remaining folks. And again, this is just for LPC members, members of the public, will have the opportunity to do a similar exercise in the future. Okay, so next is the project to rehabilitate 143 Main Street. So this is kind of just up the block from where we are now. To preserve and restore an existing historic mixed-use building to accommodate a ground floor commercial use and 4 residential units above, one of which will be affordable, and construct a secondary building on the property to accommodate up to 4 additional residential units. Both buildings are anticipated to incorporate passive house construction measures, including all-electric heat pumps, heating and cooling systems, and on-site renewable energy production via rooftop solar. This is a private sponsor. Nancy Palermo owns the site and is the sponsor. It is located again at 143 Main Street. The New York Forward funding request is approximately, I'll say $2,019,665,000. And the total project cost is $4,049,090. Yes.
Question, they have a phase 1 and a phase 2.
Yes.
Can we get a breakdown of what's phase 1 and what's phase 2?
Yes. Yes, we can. We also looked into that because we identified 2 that are phasing, but when we look at the budget table, the New York Forward is spread across both phasing, so
Yeah.
we did mark that as a question to bring up.
Because that's a lot of money, but certainly for me, that first part, phase 1 is like
Yes,
very important.
yeah, so we will pass that.
So we're looking at the building, 143?
Yes.
So is the secondary building behind it?
Yes. So it's like a long rectangular building, and they will be going, yes, the second building will be going behind it. And the idea is that they are restoring this building and not knocking it down. That try to keep the historic facade and nature of the building. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Yes.
In terms of these being affordable dwellings for folks, are there any kind of restraints that can be put on those instead of like making a luxury building that's gonna charge $10,000 a month? And then we just kind of put in $2 million for that, you know.
I'm assuming it will be subject to the Dodd-Frank affordable housing laws, I'm assuming.
How many units does the inclusive ordinance count up to?
If you have 5 units, you'll get one affordable.
So this is only 4 units, or no, well,
This is
this would be 8
8.
units, so then one would be affordable under that inclusive.
That's with the 2 buildings. First
Yes.
floor only has 4,
Yes,
but they still say they'll have an affordable in that, with that 4.
yes, in the first building. Or no,
I was just gonna say, in this one, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christie, that they proposed that to be affordable for a minimum of 5 years. And so that was the term of affordability that was proposed.
But is this the point, or is it in the future where we say, like? All of these concerns that, I think that the idea of rehabilitating this building and keeping the historical significance of it. Because it's currently just not doing anything for anybody, and it would have an additional storefront and help close the gap of like empty non-storefront fronts there. Like, I get how it could benefit the downtown, but the idea of it being like luxury, somehow them making a ton of money on something that we pay half of is, I think, a concern. I don't know if that's.
Christiana?
Christiana? Like, we wanna support it, but how can we go back to them with something to that effect? Is
Christiana?
Hi. Yeah.
me?
I don't know, that's
This,
exactly.
yeah, in this meeting, we're pushing forward like the cops, like,
Is it eligible?
can we just pay for the facelift? Like, and they can do the rest of the luxury?
So that's a question you could go back to the sponsor with, I mean, in a nicer way, but basically saying something along the lines like, what's actually feasible for you to
Yeah.
be able to, are you able to reduce your funding request to something that's actually feasible to still be able to put this scope forward? Or if they were having to reduce their near quota request based off the recommendation from the LPC, does that impact your scope? And if it does, then what elements from your scope would have to be removed?
And what still meets the criteria of.
Right. Still meeting the criteria, right?
Christiana? Forcefully, like how each project integrates into the other.
Mhm.
And align with that is. Are there other sources of funding? And if you do the other projects. This project's gonna increase in value on its own, I feel like, so. It might not be necessary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool infrastructure things that have been put forward. And from the criteria I'm reading, there's a lot of activation type language. I see the other stuff thus far being more activation centric. I don't know, so.
Yeah, there's so many, because I mean, this is the only project that is really adding, there's a couple, but. It's negligible, it's adding housing to the downtown, which is the goal of a lot of these places, so, but there's some, I don't know if there's some way that. You can't tell people how to run their business, but.
We're not taking-
I think it's a great thing, that building's gotta be redone, and so but I didn't think the idea that, yeah, they're gonna be making a fortune, so they're only gonna have one affordable unit, they're only be affordable for 5 years. That's not a diverse, housing.
So we can go back.
But is there a ordinance in you guys' charter that states that properties have to be affordable for a certain amount of years?
Yeah, I mean, you just
They
can't,
have to agree, they have to
Well,
agree with that.
I don't see how they can just say we're gonna go for 5 years.
If they can, because it's affordable housing unit that Westchester County ends up.
No, that's not.
So that may not have been something that was known or
Yeah,
considered at that point,
Yeah.
but if it's still that it's the 4, this is the phase 1, and it's 4 units, they are not subject to that inclusionary ordinance, but if it's a full 8, they are, correct?
Well, yeah, but in their proposal, they put it.
not right now.
So that may have just not been something the project was aware of, that we can inform.
Yeah.
It's also a third of the funding too, which is. Pretty significant.
crazy.
So at this point in time, are we thinking that we would like to go back to them or sharing our concerns about the 5-year affordability for that one unit? Looking into the Dobbs Ferry ordinance for that, and then also, are we asking them at this point in time if there is the option to reduce their near forward request, or do we wanna hold off on that?
And also the difference between phase 1 and phase 2.
Yes, that was the other thing. So what are our
My
thoughts
initial
here?
reaction was to say no to this whole thing, but then Donna brought up the point, it is one of the few projects that does actually put apartments on the town, right?
And it's
So-
rehabilitating a building that's
Right.
falling down.
Right, so I would say my personal, let's go back to them and see that they can redo it and come back with something more real like this.
Yeah, so how do we rate it on this thing then?
So
So the Mentimeter is solely about the goals, because this project fit with this scope align with the goals, that's it. We're gonna evaluate these projects and the other criteria later.
So let me ask you this, if it comes before, because where it is, I guess, coming from the board of trustees,
Mhm.
and we're gonna say, you need 4 parking spots, right? You need.
Yeah.
And then they say, no, we're not gonna do, and we're gonna reject the project, so what happens?
Yeah.
All of
And
these,
that can take 3 years.
right, all of these projects that go through the New York Forward are still subjected to local and state, federal permitting and approvals process, and they are made aware of that.
So let's say, well, they get a $500,000 grant, and
Mhm.
3 years from now, the village says, no, we're not approving it, what happens to that 500,000?
That's why you have a $6 to $8 million app.
We can come back, 3 years later, they can say, oh, that's on the list.
It has happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you go down to those people they didn't get any money, and now they got a call. You still
Yeah.
want this money?
But it's the 2-year shovel ready, so that scenario we wouldn't even get to, because after 2 years, the money goes away, right?
So also,
Supposed to be 2 years.
It's supposed to be 2 years, yeah.
Right,
We're supposed to only put forth things that are.
Right.
right.
I mean, it's
so,
like-
yeah, the thing, like construct a secondary building, there's no building back,
Correct.
so. This Dobbs, nothing's gonna be built in 2 years back there. Sorry, sorry. I just learned that. Yeah,
I just want to make sure I'm clear, it is not to be completed within
Okay.
2 years.
It's to be shovel ready in 2 years, meaning permitted, it's permitted and ready to break ground in our.
okay, it's still Dobbs, that ain't gonna take too long.
That's why I said 3, right?
Yes, yeah,
Well, this project, I will note too, they do have, they have already, they have, sorry. Words today, they do have an architect on board, they have structural team on board, I believe an MEP as well potentially. So they do have plans fully already fleshed out, I do believe that they are starting to look into engaging with the boards, at the village to start that process, so. This project is very much ahead, I would think, of some of the other projects that we did receive, so they are already conscious of that, I just wanna add that.
So who do you think that they were already ahead on this project because they were gonna go ahead and then this grant popped up?
Of that, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible to ask them if they had
You know,
other sources of funding on?
that part. Seemed like they were getting ready to build.
We're not talking.
I think till the end, I think we're waiting till the public comment.
Okay, got it.
can we reduce and ask to just work on the front building?
To just do the phase
So
one.
just
Or
for
do the phase 1, like restore that historic building, that's part of our history, like honestly, I don't care to build the second part. I want the first.
Well, the second part, pour 5 more apartments in, you may say.
That's true, alright.
Okay, so. We have some questions, and again, mostly cut around the phase 1, phase 2, maybe the New York Forward request, if there's the option to reduce it while keeping the same scope. And then also about the 5-year affordability and conforming with the village code. Any other thoughts before we move on in this, from this project? Okay, so we're gonna do Mentimeter,
Yeah.
And this is just if it.
just about the goals
Just about
and the
the goals.
vision, yes. Yeah.
So I've been advised that it has to be a 50-year term for affordable housing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Someone's watching.
Oh.
That Tracy or Bob?
Okay.
Maybe they really meant figuratively, so.
All right, so it looks like we're waiting for maybe one more person to respond and then we can move on.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time. All right. Okay, so the next project that we have is to transform 110 Main Street. It is the building that is directly next to where we are right now. Renovate an existing building to accommodate a retreat center and gathering space. The basement level would be converted to host workshops and small group gatherings, whereas the second floor would be transformed into a retreat center to accommodate up to 15 people for retreats and larger workshops. The first floor would remain as a private residence. Other improvements include exterior renovations such as the replacement of the vinyl siding, painting, and the installation of energy efficient windows. This is a private sponsor. The sponsor name and the property owner is, they're doing business as Community of Seventh. Again, located at 110 Main Street. Their New York Forward funding request is $250,000 and their total project cost is $333,000. I do just want to make a note that I do believe that the project cost and the New York Forward request might be increasing slightly. We received a cost estimate last night that was not attached to the application, so we requested it. However, we do have questions about that. So we didn't want to show it to you quite yet because it's not actually finalized. So this is what they came in through under the call for projects.
When we fund something, how long does it have to be that, because this could almost sound like it's a private, how, you know, there must be a home, because that, you know, what I mean, at some point, so I'm just wondering if that doesn't apply, if it's all that stuff. How long does it have to remain what they say it is?
So the state has what, the 5-year kind of clawback period, so if the use discontinues or changes, there would be a discussion with the project sponsor about that process, and then so it could be subject to a clawback.
Does it, is it important to know what they're retreating or what kind of retreat center or retreating from?
From our understanding, and this is something that we have to clarify with them, at Community 7, they do
Like professional development,
Yeah.
leadership, personal growth.
things.
But we can ask that specific
Yeah.
question and get clarification.
I think there was a lot of details in there.
Yes.
In their set, that was in there.
Yeah, it was still a little broad. So we're gonna ask for them to explain it a little bit more in detail. Any other questions or thoughts about this one? We are almost through the list of projects, I will say that,
Almost.
almost. I wanna say we have like a few left. That could be 2 or 3. Okay, so if no remaining questions or additional questions, Mentimeter. Okay, so
It's just me. I love that somehow.
alright, we just heard a few folks. Okay.
How many more?
2 more people.
2.
2 more people, 3 more projects.
Ooh. That sounds interesting.
And I apologize, we have to wait because once I change my screen, it changes the slide on the Mentimeter. So I wanna make sure everyone can get their feedback in. We still need some vote. We have 2 more people.
Make sure you press submit.
Give it another 10 seconds.
Yeah, just gonna do this again.
Any good job?
I don't know. I actually voted on it.
Oh, okay, alright, we're gonna move on, it's okay. Okay, so this project is 100 Main Street barn renovation, renovating an existing barn structure while maintaining its historic appearance to accommodate 2 market rate apartment units and create an outdoor courtyard and shade garden to connect the property to the adjacent Old Croton Aqueduct Trail. This is a private project, the sponsor and property owner is Wayne Kaiser. It's again located at 100 Main Street, so just around the block. The New York Forward funding request is $371,000 and the total project cost is $499,000. So this is the second structure on the property. There's one building that fronts Main Street. This is in the rear. And the project is to renovate the existing barn. Any,
It seems low.
Yeah, I was thinking.
He's a builder. He's doing the lead. They apprenticeship like that, associates. Do that, commercial space, they've renovated that building. It's really good.
Yeah.
That's the, right behind that came with the property. And it is a nice one.
any questions on this one? Thoughts?
Same thoughts, market rate apartments.
Yeah,
We did
And
ask
only
if they,
two.
we did ask if they would be affordable and communicated market rate. We can, if it's a suggestion of the LPC, if it suggests they consider, again, up to the LPC to indicate that, but we did ask and this was the result. All right, so let's go to the Mentimeter, if you haven't done it already.
must have missed something.
See, we got.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're almost there.
Oh, not yet, yeah.
We're good on that. We're gonna have to go to the results. quick. Yeah. All right. Just a couple more folks have to submit.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so let's.
Hey, would be.
Okay. So the next project is to enhance the Dobbs Ferry Public Library. The project is to transform its plaza area by creating an extension of programming space onto the plaza through the installation of a glass curtain wall. An enhanced plaza will serve as an additional space for gathering as well as an improved entrance to the library, while the proposed innovative indoor-outdoor design will expand the library's event capacity and opportunities for programming. Additional improvements include the remodeling of an existing kitchenette space and adding a service window which overlooks the plaza, as well as the installation of a mural on an exterior facing wall of the building. This is a public project. The project sponsor is the public library, but the property owner is the Village of Dobbs Ferry. It is located at 55 Main Street at the public library. The New York Forward funding request is $335,000 and the total project cost is $390,000. Any initial thoughts on this project?
Question, right now, we have just installed a bunch of, to get the name point, but it's. Electric lights,
Yes,
that's not in this new plaza, will they be relocating it someplace, or is that up to the?
oh, it's currently at the plaza.
Yes,
It's a
it's
new
a new installation.
Yes, it's also in the picture. That I don't think was considered, but that is something that we could bring to the applicant to see if they have considered that and where they would be located.
Just, yeah, that rack is not plugged into or anything, it's not.
Right.
I can be moved,
The rack is not charged, right?
Yeah.
So. You can just move it around to the front.
Yeah, I think so, just, yeah.
Any other thoughts, comments? Questions, concerns?
For the front, just for the funding, it won't come from the village, it's coming from the library itself, they have a fund, they are going to put some of their own money into that. Right? That's
They-
right?
But it's from
No.
the village.
But
Yes.
it's, the villages will then.
It goes to the library.
Lending
Village.
authority.
But then they.
The village will be the contracting agency and they will also be the pass-through for the funding for the project. Yes, there you
So
go.
they're the pass through.
Did you have or JD first, sorry?
Sorry, what is the service window for a library?
That is a good question, and that is,
Yeah.
you don't see, that is a question that, we are asking. a lot.
So I think from what I was reading, so there is. There's a kitchenette in this area right over here. From what I was interpreting, I think the service window would probably be here.
Happy to talk to this in the last 15 minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
We're holding it on, I mean, now.
Right.
What do you think it's time?
Any other thoughts or anything on this project? Okay, so let's go to the Mentimeter, and then we have one project left. Okay, so the last project is to rehabilitate 32 Main Street. So this project is to rehabilitate an existing mixed-use building to improve its safety and quality of life for its tenants and serve as a model for climate-forward building rehabilitation in the downtown. Improvements include, I apologize if the text is small, structural reinforcement of corroded beams and supports, rear parking lot and building envelope repairs to eliminate leaks, mold remediation and lead paint abatement, the addition of insulation and high performance windows, electrical rewiring, replacement of natural gas boiler with electric heat pumps, and the installation of rooftop solar panels. This building has 11 apartment units in it, and they're all occupied, and then there is a warehouse and a commercial component on the ground floor. The sponsor type is, it's a private project, Rivertown Solar LLC is the sponsor. However, they do not own the building. They are currently the tenants of the commercial portion, and they are currently trying to purchase, after their lease ends in 2 years, they are hoping to then purchase the building from the land. From the building owner. The New York Forward request is $1.2 million. No, that's not correct. The total project, I'm sorry, we're flipping that. The New York Forward request is $831,000 and the total project request is the $1.2 million.
So how would that work if they're the sponsor and they're not able to buy the building in 2 years? How does that work with the funding?
That's Susan's question.
That is a question that we need to go and talk to them about.
I mean, it's, the building is, outstanding.
Yeah.
The other question I would have. Is because I know in their application, they mentioned that those 11 apartments they're not affordable, but.
Sure,
The low market rent, yeah. And they say that they will evict them, blah, 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 but they fix up. I mean, the fact that they're willing to keep the people there, I think is a big plus. But if in 2 years, when this place gets renovated, they start raising the rates because the place is renovated, kind of defeats that purpose of your
Have to raise the rates because they have to keep them low because there's all these issues in the building, so.
Well, now, yeah, but once it gets fixed, will they raise the rates and then those people?
Presumably, because somehow, like, they have to keep them low to get people in this. I mean, like, yes, they would have to, because it would be fixed. I mean, I don't see that they're gonna be trying to like. Make them luxury or like, they would probably just still be appropriately priced for not having.
mold and whatever they're.
I was thinking about if you renovate the building, and when you're getting ready to buy it, did you just raise the price of the building? you're getting ready to buy?
100%.
Exactly.
I mean, does that hurt anybody else?
No, that's a real issue.
Well, it goes back to the maintenance question, are we paying for mold, mold remediation and other. I don't know if that's what we want this money to go towards, and
I mean, the landlord should be doing this.
Yeah.
Because that's, yeah,
Confirmed.
yeah.
Aren't there any like health laws or something that we're doing? Sorry, there's 11 units and they got lead-based paint in 2025.
And you see the pictures, right?
Yeah, that building, that was the building I was really hoping would apply for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but now knowing all of this, like this thing's.
And it also feels like, again, it's a low dollar amount for the work that really needs to be done, just, from the project submission with the pictures. It's a real
Can
mess.
we prioritize? Like making this thing healthy, like let's do the lead abatement, the mold remediation. First, and then.
You mean have the building department go in there and do a look at it?
Yeah.
Because they manage all this stuff.
They just added the landmark.
I mean,
And it
It's
sounds,
still public out there.
Go ahead.
I mean, love to see this building rehabilitated, but it doesn't seem to make sense. These people are renting and they're not gonna be able to buy for 2 years, so they're not gonna be shovel ready for 2 years.
the landlord should be doing this. I mean, that mold and lead exists. Should be doing it.
I mean, the end goal is wonderful, right?
Yeah, so I align with the goal.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Heat comes throughout
It
and,
needs-
taking care of those issues, I mean, that is definitely on the checklist,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But there's just so much other stuff.
But is this enhancing the downtown? Is the external part of the building at all?
Oh,
better?
Well, he just painted it.
Painted.
It looks better now.
They did just paint it, they, based off of the scope that they provided, there are no improvements proposed to the exterior of the building.
Oh.
And I also want to note too, based on the scope, again, there are no improvements to the units. It's just like the structural mold, things like that, not to the actual physical units for the commercial, the warehouse, or the.
It's almost the year of the codes that we sold.
So would these things be considered like? I think somebody mentioned this already, are these maintenance items, would this actually be an improved project? You think?
So. I mean, I think the goal of this is to not fund deferred maintenance,
Right.
and I leave that to your interpretation of whether this appears to be a deferred maintenance project.
Cool.
143 is different because of simulation.
Like 50 years ago. That's deferred me.
Don't worry.
Sounds like ghosts.
Don't worry. Is the fire, are leaving below,
Thank you.
but this place is not on fire.
So are there any thoughts about this project at this point? We don't need to make any determinations right at this moment, whether or not projects are moving forward, we can talk about this later. But any other comments or thoughts about this project?
I think it's, in my definition, just having, like, dealing with deferred maintenance a lot. To me, it'd be in the deferred maintenance category. You don't get mold if you're taking care of day-to-day things.
And so what does that mean for you in regards to this project?
In my mind, it'd be ineligible, for a few reasons. One, they don't have clear site control. Two,
Right.
it's definitely deferred maintenance, as I define it. So,
The installation of rooftop solar panel, maybe that's not, right? But the rest of it, yeah, sounds like.
So do we want to make a decision on this project at this moment? In regards to if it is deferred maintenance, or do we want to wait till the end and we can have a conversation about this?
Yes, yeah, we'll close out.
All right,
So how do you score this?
okay, so again, this is just about the goals, so the scope that we just talked about, does that align with the goals? And the vision? And after this, we're gonna talk about the evaluation criteria quickly, and then we'll have that conversation about all the projects, but before we do, we're actually gonna open up for the public comments. So I know there are some project sponsors here, if they do wanna answer any questions, they can during that public comment period, and then we're gonna have that larger conversation about all the projects. You can hear from them first.
Well, let me, vote. No.
You can also rescan the QR code too.
I did,
Sure. That was so, just like, you just move everything. That's so. Sure.
Did it work, Laura?
No, go ahead, it's okay.
Okay, so we are now going to get into the results, so let me pull those up. Okay, bear with me 1 second, I'm gonna just pull it to the screen. Bear with me 1 second, just trying to see internet. Can we close this out then? Yes, you are officially done. Okay. Okay, so we will now just briefly go through the results from our first criteria exercise. And so let me know if you could see that. I'm trying to zoom in as much as I can. All right, so for the Cedar Street Plaza, it looks like for this project, it strongly aligns with the state, the regional, as well as the New York Forward goals and vision for Dobbs Ferry. So across the board, looks like it's pretty strongly alignment of those goals. And let me know if you have any questions, otherwise we'll just kind of move right on through. So for street, Lower Main and Cedar Streetscaping, the goals, again, it looks like it pretty much aligns, or strongly aligned, I should say, with the state, regional, and then the Dobbs Ferry goals and vision, as you can see here, it looks about within 2.5 to 2.6 in regards to where it aligns. The project to install public art throughout downtown. Again, it looks like for the most part, it's trending towards strongly agree for all of the goals and the vision. And again, stop me if any of this comes to a surprise to you, or if you have any comments or questions. For the project to install a unified signage system within the downtown, again, it looks, 2.7 across the board. Strong, it looks like we're strongly agree that this project aligns with the goals and the vision. Okay, moving along to the lower part, lower Memorial Park redesign. So this project, and again, even more so, strongly agrees that this project aligns with the goals and the vision. Activate High Street Park. This project too is trending more towards strongly agrees, maybe not as strongly agrees, but it's up there. In regards to the alignment to the vision and goals. Community gardens, it looks like this one's trending a little more towards the middle for alignment with the goals and the vision. That's for the community gardens project. Pickwick Theater strongly agrees.
Yeah.
There we are, across the board for vision and all of the goals. 143 Main Street, so this one is varying a little bit, it looks like, so it looks like it's towards the middle of agreeing with the state, local, and regional goals, a little lower with the vision. Transforming 110 Main Street, this is on the lower side, with closer to strongly disagree than strongly agree in regards to the goals as well as near forward vision. Again, that's for 110 Main Street. the retreat center. 100 Main Street barn renovation. Again, kind of in the middle of the pack there. A little lower with the New York Forward goals in comparison to the others. And that's for the barn. The Dobbs Ferry Public Library. This is trending towards strongly agree in regards to its alignment with the goals and the vision. Yeah, that's the library. Then rehabilitate 32 Main Street, so that was the last project that we ended with, and this is leaning more towards strongly disagree, middle of the pack per se, in regards to its alignment with the goals, as well as the local vision. And the Dobbs Ferry goals. Those are all the results. Any of that comes as a surprise to anyone, as expected? As expected. All right, so with that, we are going to open it up. I apologize, we're adding 15. We have a little bit more to go. I thought we were gonna do it. I apologize. I know, I promised. I really thought. I know. Well, don't worry, we'll talk about refreshments maybe for the next meeting. So, we will open it now to the public, comment. 15 minutes at most, so we will kind of restrict people so they don't go too long. But at this point in time, if there's anyone from the public, or if there's anyone online that would like to speak, if you just want to stand up. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan McEwen. I'm the Artistic Director of More Dance, the project that got cut at the beginning. I just want everyone to refresh on the language around what was considered eligible to submit or not. And it was that projects that are located near or adjacent to the New York Forward boundary are welcome to submit for the open call for submissions. I had also had some correspondence and asked, if our application would be deemed ineligible if we submitted, and I was told, no, you're welcome to submit. So we went ahead and submitted our application. Additionally, as a nationally recognized arts and culture institution that has not hypothetical programming, but programming that is currently thriving, it would be incredible if we could call Dobbs Ferry our home. If we can't continue forward with 145 Palisades, and I would love to revisit it in 3 years, but in 3 years, we'll call somewhere else home. We have to establish a home. We want it to be Dobbs Ferry. Those of you that saw our performance this summer in the park, we drew an audience of about 400 people. This was our first activity in Dobbs Ferry. We've seen 4,000 people at our performances, educational programs, community programs this year alone. The arts contribute to 4.2% of our GDP. That's more than construction. It's more than agriculture. It's more than transportation. When the government invests $5 billion in the arts nationally, we return $29.1 billion in government revenue. No one is going to drive tax revenue in Dobbs Ferry like in arts and culture. And it is a 12-year track record of success. So I strongly encourage you to reconsider the eligibility of our application. We want to make Dobbs Ferry our home, and we need your support. Donna, I hear you, $1.5 million is a big request. We are used to applying for grants with Housing and Urban Development, NISCA, the NEA. They never fully fund our projects. We ask for something with the understanding that they will partially fund our work. So if you come back to us and say, you know what, we can give you $700,000. We will make it happen. We are an arts institution that has a track record of making crazy things happen. We existed through COVID in Manhattan. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. We've come out, we've been doubling our budget year over year. We've quadrupled our programming since relocating to Yonkers in January 2024. We will make this happen. We will be part of the fabric of this community. And I strongly urge you to reconsider our eligibility for our application. We've got a bank that is willing to help, support us through this project. We will get private donors. We will get other sources of funding to make this happen. A nationally recognized ballet company is not going to come to Dobbs Ferry in 3 years to say, let us make this our home. I wish we could do that. I wish I could say, yeah, we can postpone it for 3 years, But we need to find a home. We want it to be Dobbs Ferry. We need your support. Your support will be catalytic for us. Our coming to Dobbs Ferry will be catalytic for this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So honest.
Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak? And we're gonna have to keep it to like 3 minutes at most. I didn't mean it to you. I'm just saying in general.
It's really you don't want to.
3 minutes.
Person that's.
Go ahead.
Okay, having to drive to Hastings for my acting class was a great idea to have it in Dobbs Ferry. But really, the way I understand this, and I might be wrong, it's for the people that live here, something that's for them. And it's also to bring people from out there to walk on Main Street and go to the restaurants and buy stuff and make Dobbs be a different town, without lose the charm, but you know what I mean? That's what I understood what this was about, and I might be wrong. But so for that totally fits both in my civilian mind. Better than a civilian, okay? I mean, to me, that's Dobbs. People want to come to Dobbs to do that.
I
and
don't know
see it.
him.
Well, you know, we dated way back, we dated all night. But I'm not gonna look, I guess, that was like a joke. Okay, that's my thing.
Thank you.
So- I actually don't know, I don't know this gentleman, I agree with him 100%, I think this is a really, really good thing, I'd love to see this do it, I was not planning to say anything about it. I've talked with them about it, I think it's really, really cool, it'd be great, 145, I think, is part of our downtown, it's a draw, it does all the things we need to do. But that's not what I wanted to talk about, I'm still there to have a high level of criticism on this tonight, because of some of the things I had heard about some of the projects. I think you've done a really, really good job. I think the way that you've evaluated them is very much along what I would have. This project is not a 3, it's a 1. This project is a 3. It needs to done. I think that you did a great job.
You all did, you all did.
Thank you. And Vinny knows I don't give statements to that to this board like that.
We all know that.
I just. I wanted to.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, it sounds like you brought us here, right? But I think one of the things that struck me in hearing about this project, which I didn't see your performance at the river, and the Pickwick Theater, which I know would be great to have fixed up on Main Street. But I get the sense that if you have an organization, which you already said this, that knows how to present programming, like what happens if the Pickwick, which can't be renovated for that amount of money, I can't imagine. It's renovated, but who's gonna do the programming there? What's gonna make it a place that happens like that, that has a lot of different things? So I think in a way that has to be a question, you know, for something like that, like
been building
who's gonna program it, what's gonna happen?
We don't wanna have any audience.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's my, and I think, you know, the Pickwick Theater has huge potential, but that's my concern. And I haven't been in town that long, you know, people there a lot longer than I do, everybody else does, so I don't know.
It's an ideal mix.
That's a question
Thank you.
in my mind.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak, whether you're online or in the room?
Yeah.
Hi,
Questions
yes.
on the library project, if I can address them in the 3 minutes, I'd be delighted to. If not, we welcome all the questions that you submit for this next round. We hope you see some of the sketches we put in the proposals from the architect. Despite not having a parklet, which we hope to have, but we can't have for police safety reasons, we are looking at ways to extend the seating in the library plaza, add a false grid ceiling, so there's some shade. As many people have mentioned, there's a bit of a heat desert downtown. The walk up from downtown does not have a lot of places to stop. We're trying to take a space that is already public use and enhance it so that it's an easier place to stop, whether you're having a meal from one of the local restaurants and want an al fresco place to dine, or you're with your kids and sort of waiting for a program at the library, or if you've been to our community room, which is a dull, uninspiring single block building, we're adding a full operable glass window so you can see the programming that serves over 6,000 people in our village every year. You'll be able to see it more clearly as you're walking by. You'll also be able to have a sort of indoor-outdoor experience. The service window is something that we're playfully thinking of using for our music book sales, like you would come to get something from a restaurant, you can from the Friends of the Library buy used books. And or during programming, perhaps we offer refreshments. But happy to answer any other questions around that.
So the park light is out.
The park lit is out. Unfortunately, it was nixed by the police department. It would have been a lovely addition, but it's not.
Window sounds great to me with hot chocolate when Santa happens to be there.
We have a beloved coffee shop. It's very close, so we're not trying to compete, but
It's outdoor performance based.
If we have one comment online, thank you. Yes, if Stephanie, if you would like to, start.
Hi, yes, my name is Stephanie Reinert. I work at The Architect for 143 Main Street, and I believe the sponsor, Nancy Palermo, was here, but she has had to leave. But I just wanted to say that I know that she would like the opportunity to respond to questions about the project, because it's been discussed a lot, and she's very interested in it. So I can't speak for her, but I just wanted to say I know that she'd like that opportunity.
Perfect, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak? Okay, so with that, and bear with me, I'm having connection issues, all of a sudden I'm trying to share my screen again. Okay, hopefully it should work.
We've
Okay.
answered this question before, so if we go to other places and say, you asked for 1.5, but we'll give you 5, I mean, are we like negotiating with them, or?
So we want to do it in a way that, it is kind of a negotiation, however, you want to make sure that their projects are still going to be feasible and that can actually still be put forward with the project with the New York Code request that you're asking of them to reduce or increase their requests to be. So it's really to understand if their project can move forward with the same scope, but with a reduced New York Code request. It's really to understand if it's feasible and if it's something that can happen.
You do that for us.
Yes, but we have to listen to you all, and if you do ask for that information, then we can go back and do that. So, moving forward now, so this is here. And this answers your question before, Joseph. So,
Sorry, Christina, can you please confirm that for me, sorry, your first name?
Morgan,
Morgan first said in the proposal, said adjacent, projects adjacent or near. And yet we jumped to eligibility, that it was not eligible. Right, so we jumped that it was not eligible, but yet that contradicts what Morgan said.
so the application, oh, well, we have to find the application. However, I do have my response, and we did indicate that projects that are near or adjacent to the boundary are allowed to submit through the open call for projects for the consideration of the LPC at the LPC meeting. Therefore, you're more than welcome to submit a project, but do note that this project, the deadline is on the 31st. We never indicated at that point in time whether it'd be eligible or ineligible, but we have pre